She hid from the galaxy itself, but one human touch made her body remember everything she tried to forget. This is a story about desire, courage, and the heartbeat that could ignite a war. The scratching had started 3 nights ago. At first, Nathan Parker thought it was just metal fatigue, one of the dozens of microfractures that haunted Outpost Helios like the whisper of ghosts in steel. But the sound persisted, faint, rhythmic, too deliberate to be random, like something or someone trying to claw its way out from behind the walls. Helios wasn't a place built for mystery. It was a sterile, rotating ring of alloys and humming reactors orbiting a dying orange star. The kind of place that only bureaucrats, engineers, and soldiers could love, and even they didn't. It was supposed to symbolize cooperation between humans and the Cry Confederacy, two species bound by fragile treaties and endless suspicion. The propaganda vids called it a beacon of unity. Nathan called it a tin can with too many cameras. 6 months into his 12-month contract as a security officer, Nathan had already memorized every corridor, every access hatch, every blind spot where he could smoke without being caught. His life was a clockwork routine patrol, log eat, sleep, repeat, until the scratching. He stood now in storage section 7, the sound echoing faintly through the floor grates. The air was heavy with the metallic tang of coolant and disinfectant. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, flickering occasionally like the heartbeat of a machine, too tired to keep pretending it was alive. Nathan crouched beside the maintenance panel and pressed his ear to it. There it is again, a thin, rasping scrape followed by silence. He frowned, adjusting the strap of his security vest. The reinforced gray jumpsuit clung to his muscular frame, and the blue sensor light embedded in his chest plate pulsed in sync with his steady heartbeat. Probably vexlings, he muttered under his breath. The Cry called them sacred vermin. Nathan called them what they were: space rats. Six-legged pests that glowed faintly in the dark, gnawed through wiring, and multiplied like guilt. And because the Cry considered all life sacred, extermination was ethically impermissible. Instead, humans like Nathan spent their days chasing down rats with nets and relocation crates. He sighed, rubbing sweat from his brow. "All right, you little bastards," he said, unclipping his multi-tool. "Let's see where you're hiding." He tapped the wall console. Maintenance override. Parker Nathan J. Security clearance Theta 7. The panel beeped, scanning his voice pattern. Access granted. The red indicator light shifted to green. The sound came again, quicker this time, more frantic. Nathan paused, brow furrowing. "That's not rats," he whispered. He pried open the panel. A rush of cold, recycled air spilled out, carrying the faint scent of ozone and something else. Something alive. He expected movement, the usual skitter of claws. Instead, two large, silvery eyes stared back at him from the darkness. Nathan froze. His hand instinctively went to the stunner holstered on his hip. A figure shifted within the cramped maintenance shaft. Not a creature, a person. A woman. Her skin shimmered faint green under the lights, and her long, silver-white hair framed a face too delicate, too human to belong to anything else in the galaxy. She wore a dark, sleeveless top and tight utility pants that clung to her slender form. Behind her, half hidden in the shadows, a small child peeked out, smaller hands clutching the woman's arm. Nathan's brain lagged a second behind his instincts. Two refugees, not rats, not pests, people. "Holy shit," he muttered, voice barely audible. "You, who the hell are you?" The woman flinched at his voice but didn't move. Her gray eyes darted between his face and the stunner in his grip. Then she spoke, her voice trembling, melodic and laced with an alien accent. "Please, don't report us." The words hit him harder than a gunshot. Don't report us. That single sentence carried fear, exhaustion, and something else, a kind of desperate hope that scraped at his conscience. Nathan Bond hesitated. Training screamed at him. Unauthorized passengers are to be detained immediately. He was supposed to call it in. Get back up. Secure the area. Instead, he just stood there, staring at the pair in disbelief. The child, maybe 6 years old, peeked out again. Her eyes were wide and bright, her skin the same soft green hue as her mother's. "Mama," she whispered, clutching her mother's hand tighter. "He's human." Yes, the woman said softly. He is. Nathan finally found his voice. This is Security Officer Parker, he said, forcing authority into his tone. I need to see identification and transit papers. Now. The woman swallowed hard. We have none. That's not an answer. We're refugees. She took a slow breath as if every word cost her. Our home world, Teralis, fell 3 cycles ago. The Dominion took it. Nathan's pulse quickened. The Dominion. He'd heard the name before, a militaristic empire expanding across the Orion Arm. Rumors said they enslaved entire planets, re-educating survivors in the name of order. Earth's intelligence agencies monitored them closely, but the war zones were far beyond human space. My husband, her voice faltered. He refused to build weapons for Ostem. They executed him. They would have taken my daughter to the rehabilitation camps. The way she said rehabilitation made Nathan's stomach twist. The child looked up at him, eyes wide-eyed and innocent. Are you going to make us go away too? Nathan exhaled slowly. He looked down the corridor empty. No patrols nearby. Cameras in this section were half dead anyway. Still, he knew the risks. Helping them meant prison, maybe worse. You can't stay here, he said finally, his voice low. This section gets maintenance checks if they find you. You're not going to report us? The woman asked quickly, her hope fragile as glass. Nathan hesitated. Every regulation he'd memorized flashed in his mind. Follow protocol, maintain order, protect station integrity. But then he looked at the child again, trembling, clutching her mother's arm. He holstered his stunner. Not yet, he said. But you can't stay here. I'll figure something out. Relief flooded the woman's face. Thank you. We don't need much, only a safe place until we can find passage to the neutral colonies. Nathan rubbed a hand over his face. There's an unused storage room in Section 12. It's off-grid, waiting for renovations next month. No one goes there. I can get you in. She nodded quickly, eyes glistening. My name is Lana, she said softly, and this is my daughter, Elu. Nathan, he replied automatically. Gather your things. Shift changes in 20 minutes. That's our window. As Lana packed their few belongings, a small rucksack, some food rations, and a worn photo plate, Nathan found himself wondering what the hell he was doing. 6 months of spotless service gone in one stupid decision. And yet, for the first time in months, he didn't feel numb. Stay close and follow my lead, he said, gesturing her out of the hatch. Lana nodded, holding Elu's hand tight. We're in your debt, Officer Parker. Nathan, he corrected. Let's just hope this doesn't get us both spaced. They moved silently down the maintenance corridor, light-dimmed air heavy with recycled ozone. As they passed a viewport, Nathan caught a glimpse of the stars beyond, cold, distant, indifferent. He joined the Space Corps to feel part of something greater. But here, guiding 2 frightened souls through a forbidden passageway, he realized this was what greater truly meant. When they reached the empty storage bay, Nathan keyed in his override. The door hissed open, revealing a small, dusty chamber, bare metal walls, scattered crates, and a single flickering lamp. It's not much, he said, but it's better than a maintenance shaft. Lana looked around, genuine gratitude softening her alien features. It's perfect, she whispered. Elu climbed onto one of the crates, peering up at the lights. It's warm, she said, smiling faintly. Nathan forced a small smile of his own. I'll bring food and blankets tomorrow. Don't open the door for anyone but me. Lana's gaze met his, a silent question. A thank you and a warning all in one. You're risking much for strangers, she said quietly. Yeah, Nathan replied. Guess I'm not great at following orders. When he left them that night, walking back through the echoing corridors of Helios, he felt the weight of what he'd done settle over him like gravity. One decision, one act of compassion. It was enough to change everything. And somewhere deep inside him, beneath the uniform and protocol, something long dormant stirred something human. Nathan didn't sleep that night. The hum of the ventilation system in his quarters sounded louder than usual, a mechanical lullaby gone wrong. He lay on his bunk staring at the dull gray ceiling, listening to the distant groan of the station's rotation. Every sound reminded him of what was hidden just a few sections away, a woman and her child sleeping in the dark because of his decision. He'd broken protocol, not a small one either, the kind that came with imprisonment, discharge, and a lifetime ban from any off-world contract. the kind that could end a man's life without ever firing a bullet. Idiot, he muttered, rubbing his eyes. You're a damn idiot, Parker. But the image of Elu, the small alien girl, clutching her mother's arm, wouldn't leave his head. There was something disarming about her innocence, about the way she looked at him, not with hatred or awe, but curiosity, like he was just another person, not a uniform or a threat. He tried to tell himself he'd done the rational thing, that the Cry's bureaucracy would have turned this into a week-long investigation and the refugees would have been spaced before anyone cared enough to ask why. That was the official justification. The truth was simpler and harder to admit. He couldn't stand the thought of that kid being dragged away screaming. He turned in his bunk again. The blue light of the comm console blinked quietly on his desk. One call, that's all it would take to undo everything. He could report it anonymously, claim it was an automated anomaly, walk away clean. But his hand didn't move. Instead, he got up, pulled on his uniform jacket, and headed out. The corridors of Helios were quiet at this hour, the station's artificial night cycle. He passed rows of closed blast doors and flickering status panels, his boots echoing softly against the metal floor. Most of the Cry staff preferred to meditate during rest hours. Humans just tried to forget they were trapped inside a metal coffin orbiting nowhere. He stopped outside Section 12. The override light glowed faint green, indicating his last access had been logged. That alone was risky. Every entry left a data trail. He'd have to find a way to wipe the logs later. Nathan keyed in the code. The door slid open with a soft hiss. The room was dim-lit only by a small portable lamp. Lana stirred instantly, her instincts sharp. She rose halfway, one hand shielding Elu, the other clutching a metal rod that looked like a broken pipe. When she saw it was him, the tension eased slightly. You shouldn't come here, she whispered. It's dangerous for you. Nathan shrugged, setting down a small container of food. Yeah, well, dangerous seems to be the theme lately. Elu blinked sleepily from her makeshift bed, a folded blanket on a crate. Her silvery eyes brightened. Or Nathan? He smiled despite himself. Hey, kiddo, brought you something. He handed her a small data pad. Has some games. Human ones, but I think you'll manage. Her eyes widened in delight. Thank you. Lana watched the exchange silently. When Elu became absorbed in the screen, she looked back at Nathan. You shouldn't risk this for us. The Cry patrols are thorough. I know. He sat down on a crate opposite her. But I've already crossed the line. Might as well make sure you don't starve while I'm at it. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence between them was heavy, but not hostile. Just uncertain. You said your home world was destroyed, Nathan said finally. Torellis, right? Lana nodded. It was beautiful once. Floating cities, gardens suspended in the clouds. Now it's ash. The Dominion calls it pacified. They burn the skies to prove a point. Her voice was calm, but beneath the calm was a quiet fury that made Nathan's chest tighten. He hesitated. And your husband? She looked away. He was a scientist, a good one. The Dominion wanted him to build weapons. He refused. They executed him. She drew a slow breath, steadying herself. Before they came, he encrypted all his research and gave it to me. Said it could help whoever had the courage to fight back. Nathan leaned forward. You still have it. She tapped a small silver pendant hanging from her neck. Encrypted, bio-locked to me. It contains data on stealth fields and energy modulation. Your people might call it cloaking technology. That made Nathan sit up straighter. You're carrying classified military tech. Lana's lips curved in a faint, humorless smile. I'm carrying hope. For someone who still remembers what freedom means. The words hit him deeper than he expected. Hope, freedom. Words humans used in recruitment vids and speeches, but hearing them from her made them sound real again. So that's why you can't go to the Cry, he said. They'd hand you over to the Dominion in a heartbeat. Exactly. The Confederacy bows to whichever empire screams the loudest. Nathan rubbed his jaw, thinking. There's a supply ship docking in a week. Human crew, maybe I can... Lana interrupted softly. Why are you helping us? The question was gentle, but it caught him off guard. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. He didn't have an answer that made sense. Because I can, he said finally. Because no one else will. Her expression softened. Among my people, compassion is considered a form of courage. We used to believe it was sacred. Now, most see it as weakness. Nathan looked away. Yeah, that sounds familiar. They sat in silence again, the soft hum of the station filling the gaps. Elu laughed quietly at her game, a bright musical sound that seemed to chase the cold out of the air. Nathan found himself smiling at the sound before realizing he was doing it. You remind me of someone, Lana said suddenly. My husband. He used to question orders too. I bet that didn't work out great for him. No, she said softly, but he died with his conscience intact. Not many can say that. Nathan stared at the floor. Maybe I'll get there one day. Lana's gaze softened. Maybe you already have. Something about the way she said it, calm certain, stirred something inside him. For a man used to existing by rules, it felt strange to be seen to be understood. He stood after a moment, clearing his throat. You should rest. I'll bring more food tomorrow. Lana nodded. Nathan, she said quietly, whatever happens, thank you. He hesitated at the door. Don't thank me yet. She smiled faintly. You risked everything for a mother and her child. That is enough. He left before she could say more. But as he walked back through the dim corridors, the weight on his chest grew heavier. Not from guilt, but from something else entirely. Something new. Compassion had always been easy to talk about, harder to act on. And now that he couldn't shake the feeling that he just lit a fuse that would change not just his life, but maybe something far greater. The next day, Helios felt different. Every corridor seemed sharper, every sound louder. Nathan noticed patrols he hadn't paid attention to before, cameras blinking like eyes. It was as if the station itself had become aware of what he'd done. He spent his shift pretending to be normal, scanning access logs, checking pressure seals, nodding through reports. But every moment he thought about Section 12, about Lana and Elu sitting quietly in the dark, trusting him. At one point, he caught sight of himself reflected in a viewport, uniformed, disciplined, a perfect cog in the system. And he realized he hated that version of himself. He'd always told himself that serving the Confederacy's joint station meant building peace. But peace built on fear wasn't peace, it was obedience. When his shift finally ended, he didn't go back to his quarters. He went straight to Section 12. He knocked once before entering. Lana was waiting as if she knew he would come. I've been thinking, she said before he could speak. If we're caught, you'll lose everything. Nathan shook his head. I already made my choice. Why? He took a deep breath. Because I'm tired of pretending I don't see what's right in front of me. Their eyes met. For a moment, the hum of the station faded, replaced by something silent and electric between them. Lana looked away, first her voice barely above a whisper. Then we'll survive. Together. Nathan smiled faintly. That's the plan. He didn't know it then, but those words, that small promise, would become the foundation of everything that came next: love, war, and the kind of faith that could rewrite the fate of worlds. 3 days passed in uneasy silence. Nathan's life split into two halves, the one written in the official logs and the one lived in the shadows. On paper, he was still the same security officer, Parker, punctual, efficient, a model human among the Cry administration. But in reality, he had become something else entirely: a smuggler of food, a liar by necessity, a guardian of two lives that shouldn't exist. Section 12 had turned into a makeshift home. He'd cleared out old crates and wiring, patched a loose oxygen vent, and set up a portable recycler for maintenance supplies. The small room hummed faintly with life, now a tiny, fragile ecosystem hidden within the mechanical belly of the station. Every time Nathan slipped inside, the smell hit him first, faintly sweet, like ozone mixed with something floral. Lana's scent. It was strange how quickly he'd started associating that with calm, with warmth. She'd arranged their meager belongings carefully. 2 sleeping mats side by side, a small water purifier rigged from old parts, and the little hollow emitter Elu used to project shimmering images of trees. The holograms flickered imperfect but beautiful blue-green forests floating in the sterile air. When he entered, Elu looked up from her hologame, face brightening. Mr. Nathan. He smiled automatically. Hey, kiddo, learning fast. She nodded proudly, holding up the device. I built a tree. It grows light instead of leaves. Nathan chuckled. That's impressive. Maybe you'll redesign this station one day. Maybe, she said, serious and innocent at once. Lana emerged from the corner, hair loose, wearing a repurposed maintenance shirt that hung slightly oversized on her frame. You shouldn't be here long, she said softly, but there was no reproach in her tone. They've increased patrol rotations. I know, Nathan replied, setting down the supplies, but I couldn't let you go hungry. And he hesitated, glancing around the small room. I needed to check the filters. The air's getting dry. Always an excuse, Lana said with a faint, knowing smile. He met her gaze, maybe. Their eyes held for a second too long, and Nathan forced himself to look away. I also brought something else, he added quickly. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small silver capsule no bigger than a thumb drive. Lana's eyes widened. What is that? Signal isolator. Scrambles motion sensors in this section for 10 minutes at a time. Bought it from an engineer who likes credits more than questions. You're risking your career, she murmured. He shrugged. That ship sailed when I opened that hatch. Elu's giggle broke the tension. You talk like a space captain. Maybe I missed my calling, Nathan said. He knelt beside her. What's that you're drawing? The hologram displayed a scene of domed city floating above clouds tinted gold. Elegant spires, organic curves like living coral. It's my home, Elu said proudly. Mama says the sky there smelled like cinnamon and light. Nathan blinked, momentarily disarmed. That's beautiful. It was, Lana said quietly, before they came. Her tone made him look up. She was watching the projection too, her expression distant, haunted. Taralis wasn't perfect, she continued. We had politics, greed, but we had art, music. We believed beauty made us stronger. She exhaled. Then the Dominion decided strength meant control. Nathan leaned against a crate, arms crossed. I've read the reports. They occupy, restructure, civilize. All in the name of peace. They burned our oceans, she said simply. The silence that followed was heavy. Then softer almost, as if to herself, Lana added, my husband worked on a defense project before they came. He believed that true strength came from making yourself unseen, from surviving long enough to strike back. He developed a cloaking system unlike any the Dominion had. And he gave it to you, Nathan said. Lana nodded. He trusted that someday someone would use it to fight them. Someone who still believed in freedom. You think that's us? Nathan asked, skeptical but curious. Her gray eyes met his. He believed humans were different, that your species hadn't yet learned to fear your own ideals. Nathan smirked faintly. Give us time. Lana smiled, soft, sad, but real. I think you underestimate yourselves. He wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Because in that small, hidden room, surrounded by the hum of machinery and the faint laugh of a child, he felt something he hadn't in years. The fragile warmth of being human, not just a uniform in orbit. That night, after Elu had fallen asleep, Lana and Nathan sat side by side on the floor, the only light coming from the flickering hollow of a forest canopy. The leaves shifted between green and gold, casting their faces in surreal colors. You ever miss Earth, she asked. Sometimes, he said, but the version I miss doesn't exist anymore. Crowded cities, sky traffic noise. Still, there's something about seeing sunlight hit real water. You should show it to Elu someday, Lana said softly. She's never seen an ocean. Nathan hesitated. That's a dangerous promise. All the best promises are, she replied. He looked at her, then really looked. The way the light shimmered against her skin, the faint glow at her temples when she smiled. Alien, yes, but not foreign. And in that moment, the idea of promising her anything didn't feel dangerous. It felt right. The next morning, Nathan's comm chimed during his patrol. Security Unit 3, report to Command Hub, came the synthesized voice of Thex the Cry security chief. Cold, precise, with that slightly reptilian edge the Cry were known for. Nathan's stomach tightened. Copy that, he replied, keeping his tone even. Thex was waiting when he arrived, tall, scaled eyes, vertical and unblinking. Officer Parker, the alien said, we've detected unauthorized access patterns in Section 12. Repeated entries logged under your ID. Nathan forced a calm expression. Routine inspection, sir. Maintenance flagged temperature irregularities. Interesting. The X's pupils narrowed. No such report appears in the database. Nathan shrugged the picture of nonchalance. Probably a glitch in the log. You know how the system is. Theek stared at him for an uncomfortably long time. See that it doesn't happen again. Understood. As Nathan turned to leave, the Cry added quietly, the Dominion has requested a special inspection team to dock next week. Make sure your records are immaculate. Nathan nodded once, suppressing the surge of panic that crawled up his spine. Of course, sir. When he returned to Section 12, Lana could see the change in his face before he spoke. What happened? They're on to me, he said. Not enough to act yet, but they've noticed. Her hands tightened. Then we should go. Go where Nathan snapped, then regretted the edge in his voice. Sorry, it's just this station's a fortress. There's nowhere to run without being seen. She was silent for a moment. Then we hide better. Nathan exhaled, sinking down onto a crate. You're not wrong. Elu, sitting cross-legged on the floor, looked up. Are we in trouble, Mr. Nathan? He forced a smile. Not yet, kiddo. She smiled back, trusting him completely, and that was the worst part. That trust felt heavier than any order he'd ever followed. Later, when Elu slept again, Lana sat across from Nathan, studying him in silence. You could still report us, she said. Say you found nothing. Walk away. Nathan shook his head slowly. Can't. Why not? He hesitated, then met her gaze. Because the moment I saw you two hiding in that hatch, something changed. Maybe I just got tired of pretending that following rules makes a man righteous. Her expression softened. Among my people, we say the soul is a thread of light. It burns brightest when it defies the dark. That's poetic, he said quietly. It's survival. He looked at her for a long moment. Your husband, he was lucky. Her eyes glistened faintly. Why? Because he had someone who still believes the world can be better. Lana smiled, small, genuine, and impossibly sad. And you, Nathan Parker, are dangerously human. Is that a compliment? It's a warning, she said, but her voice betrayed warmth. They both laughed softly, carefully, as if even joy had to be smuggled here between the walls of Helios. Outside, through the metal and silence, the stars kept turning distant and unblinking. Inside, in that hidden room, something was beginning to burn slow and bright, a fragile rebellion made of trust, compassion, and something dangerously close to love. The next few days felt like a countdown Nathan couldn't stop. Helios hummed with its usual rhythm, shift bells, data transmissions, the faint metallic groan of expansion cycles. But beneath that, something had changed. The corridors seemed tighter, the lights harsher. Every announcement over the comm made his pulse quicken. He wasn't just hearing the station anymore. He was hearing the footsteps of fate closing in. The Dominion inspection team was scheduled to arrive in less than a week. The X had been clear. All security logs had to be spotless. Any anomaly, any unauthorized entry, especially to Section 12, would be dissected. Nathan couldn't afford another visit, but he couldn't stay away either. He found himself walking there almost automatically after his shifts, moving through service tunnels with the precision of a man sneaking into his own heart. When he reached the door, he always paused, listening for the hum of the signal isolator, for the soft sounds of life within. Inside, Lana was teaching Elu to read human script. She'd drawn letters on the wall with a burnt stylus. Elu's small voice recited carefully, her accent musical. Home. Lana smiled gently. Good, Elu. That word is important. It means a place where you're safe. The child turned, seeing Nathan. Mr. Nathan, you're back. He smiled, closing the door behind him. Yeah, just checking your air filters, standard procedure. Lana laughed softly. You're terrible at lying. He grinned. Then it's a good thing you're not filing reports. He set down a pack of rations and fresh batteries. Lana stood wiping her hands on her makeshift tunic. The dim light cast a halo across her silver hair, and for a second he forgot to breathe. You should sleep more, she said, studying him. Your eyes look heavy. Sleep's overrated. Not for humans, she said. Your bodies burn bright, but briefly. He gave a half smile. We make it count while it lasts. Lana tilted her head, curious. That's what makes your species fascinating. You live as if every heartbeat might be your last, and still you hope. Hope's all we've got, Nathan said. She looked at him for a long moment, then smiled faintly. Maybe that's why my husband believed in your kind. The mention of her husband should have cooled the air between them, but somehow it didn't. Nathan felt the old guilt flicker, the awareness that he was crossing invisible lines, yet he couldn't step back. Not anymore. He crouched beside Elu, who was tracing letters in the dust. You're getting good at this, he said. She beamed. Mama says when we get to the neutral colonies, I can go to school. He forced a smile. Yeah, you'll be top of your class. But the words stung because he didn't believe there would be a neutral colony soon enough to save them. That night after Elu fell asleep, Lana and Nathan talked in whispers, sitting close beside the dim light of a maintenance lamp. The room felt smaller than usual, their voices softer like confessions between conspirators. "You miss Earth," Lana said. He nodded. "Yeah, sometimes I dream about it. Rain noise people bumping shoulders on crowded streets. Never thought I'd miss that. And yet here you are risking your life for two strangers. Guess the universe likes irony." She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "You're more than what this place has made you." Nathan gave a tired laugh. "You don't know me, Lana. I know enough." She reached out a hesitant touch on his arm. "When I first saw you open that hatch, I thought we were dead. But you didn't call for help. You didn't even ask why. You just saw us." Her hand lingered for a second longer than it should have. Nathan swallowed, heart thudding against his chest plate. "If I'd followed protocol, you'd both be gone. I couldn't live with that." "Among my people," she said softly, "when someone saves your life, it creates a bond, a thread between souls. It's said that thread glows when both hearts are near." Sounds poetic. "It's more than poetry." She hesitated, then leaned closer. "Our bodies, they respond to connection. It's how we communicate emotion through resonance." "You mean empathy, something deeper. Shared pulse, shared rhythm." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "May I show you?" Nathan hesitated, unsure if it was science or something sacred. But her eyes, wide silver gray, shimmering with a courage that mirrored his own, erased his doubts. "Okay," he said quietly. She lifted her hand and pressed it gently against his chest plate, over the glowing blue sensor light. Then she leaned forward until their foreheads touched. For a moment there was nothing, just silence and the faint hum of the lamp. Then warmth, a subtle vibration that spread from his chest outward, syncing with his heartbeat. He inhaled sharply, the room blurred, colors deepening. He felt her not in words but in sensations. Fear, hope, gratitude. And beneath it, something that pulsed like light through water, longing. When they broke contact, Nathan exhaled shakily. "That's new." Lana smiled faintly. "Now you understand." "Understand what?" "Why I trust you." He met her gaze and the room seemed to shrink around them. "Lana." Before he could finish, the comm in his pocket buzzed sharply. The sound shattered the moment. He pulled it out, still dazed. A message from Krell Dominion, inspection vessel confirmed. Arrival 24 hours. Nathan cursed under his breath. "They're early." Lana's face drained of color. "Here, yes. Dominion oversight team led by someone named Commander Dravak." Her breath caught. "Dravak, he's the one who executed my husband." Nathan froze. "You're sure?" She nodded, trembling. "He wore the same insignia. I'll never forget it." Nathan's fists clenched. "Then we can't wait for the supply ship. We need another plan." He started pacing, adrenaline kicking in. "Krell might know a way. He's got contacts, smugglers, couriers. If we can get a message out before they start searching," Lana finished. "They'll sweep every section." Nathan nodded grimly. "I'll talk to him tonight." She caught his arm. "Be careful. Dominion agents don't inspect, they hunt." He smiled without humor. "Good thing I've got something worth fighting for." Lana's grip tightened. "You shouldn't say that." "Why not?" "Because the moment you admit it, the universe tests it." He stared at her, the tension, the quiet fire behind her words, and for a heartbeat he wanted to say it anyway. To tell her that whatever this was, it mattered. That he'd risk everything again if it meant keeping her safe. But instead he said softly, "Then let it test me." She stared at him, his gray eyes luminous in the dim light. Then slowly she stepped closer. Without a word, she reached up and pressed her lips to his cheek, a fleeting touch, warm and trembling. "For luck," she whispered. Nathan stood still, stunned, as she stepped back. His throat felt dry. "If that's luck," he said quietly, "I'll take all you've got." Lana smiled, a flicker of brightness in the dark. "Then stay alive, Nathan Parker. That's all the luck I have to give." He left Section 12 that night, with his heart beating too fast and his thoughts spiraling. He'd faced fire vacuum and the emptiness of space before, but nothing had ever felt as dangerous as that kiss. Krell was waiting for him near the environmental hub, a tall Ardenian with 4 arms and a face like chiseled stone. "You look like someone who just saw a ghost," Krell said, his voice low and gruff. "Worse," Nathan muttered. "Dravak's here." Krell's eyes widened. "Then we have a problem." "No kidding. I need to get a message to Earth Command quietly. Dominion's not here to inspect, they're hunting. Krell nodded slowly. I can arrange a data transfer. There's a Terran supply vessel docking in 3 days the ECS horizon, but you'll have to deliver the package yourself. Good, I'll handle it. Krell studied him. Parker, you're risking more than your career. Once you start this, there's no going back. Nathan met his gaze. Yeah, I figured that out when I opened a maintenance hatch and found a family instead of rats. Krell's tentacles twitched his species' version of a smile. Humans, he said, shaking his head. Always rewriting the rules of survival. Someone has to, Nathan replied. Back in his quarters, Nathan stared at his reflection in the mirror. The face looking back at him was familiar. Same scar above the brow, same tired eyes, but something in them had shifted. He wasn't the same man who joined Helios 6 months ago. He'd found something or someone worth defying gravity for. Tomorrow, he whispered, we start fighting back. He didn't know yet how true that was, that the war would begin not with armies, but with a man, a woman, and a child hiding in the shadows holding on to hope, like fire in the dark. Helios had never felt so alive or so suffocating. The day the Dominion ship docked, the entire station shifted into control panic. New patrols, new access codes. Every system double-checked and cross-checked. To the average worker, it was just another bureaucratic inspection. To Nathan, it was a death sentence counting down in hours. He kept his face neutral, his posture steady. Inside, he was fire. The Dominion vessel, relentless, was visible through the observation deck, a black spear of metal and silence dwarfing Helios with its shadow. The insignia of the Dominion burned blood red against its hull, like a wound that never healed. Nathan had seen military ships before, but this one felt predatory. Even parked, it looked ready to strike. He forced himself back to his console. Every report, every camera feed, every log, all had to appear spotless. He erased his Section 12 entries manually, bit by bit, rewriting the timestamps. One missed line and one inconsistency, and THX would notice. He was almost done when a voice broke through the static of his concentration. Officer Parker. Nathan turned slowly. Chief Security Officer THX stood in the doorway, tall-scaled, unblinking. Behind him, 2 Dominion officers in sleek gray armor observed silently, their faces hidden behind black visors. Sir, Nathan said, keeping his voice calm. Can I help you? There's been an anomaly, THX said, tapping on his holo tablet. Multiple entries to Section 12 using your clearance. Yet no official records of inspection. Nathan's pulse didn't change, but his palms began to sweat. Routine maintenance. I was chasing possible vexling activity. Curious, THX said, tilting his reptilian head. No such reports exist. Nathan gave a half shrug. Verbal report from maintenance staff. I thought it best not to clog the system with false alarms. THX's eyes flicked to the Dominion officers. One of them stepped forward, his voice filtered through a modulator. Section 12 is restricted under current Dominion security protocols. We'll need access. Nathan's gut turned cold. That's not standard. THX interrupted smoothly. It is now. Show them the way, Officer Parker. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but he couldn't. Not yet. He straightened, forcing a tight smile. Of course, sir. He led them down the corridor, every step echoing like a countdown in his skull. He had minutes, maybe less, to warn Lana and Alu. When they turned a corner, a Cry technician crossed their path carrying a stack of data pads. The Dominion officer brushed past, impatient. In that second, Nathan slipped his comm from his belt, palmed it, and muttered under his breath. Krell, Section 12, now. He slipped the comm back just as the officer glanced over. Problem? The modulated voice asked. Just clearing interference, Nathan said smoothly. Station wiring's old. When they reached the door, his pulse thundered so loud it drowned out thought. He entered the override code deliberately slower than usual. THX's eyes narrowed. Something wrong, Parker. System lag, he said. Old circuits. The light blinked green. Nathan palmed the emergency seal override, a silent command that locked the secondary hatch from the inside. Buying maybe 60 seconds. He turned, faking confusion. Wait, pressure, irregularity. Let me check. The Dominion officer pushed past him and hit the manual open. The door hissed. Empty. The room was stripped clean. No mats, no purifier, no hollow lights, just bare metal. Nathan froze, too good an actor to show the relief flooding through him. Krell. He'd gotten them out. Theeks frowned. Where are the anomalies? Gone, Nathan said. Looks like maintenance cleaned it out after all. The Dominion officer scanned the room with a handheld sensor. No life signs, but faint bioresidue. Recent. Theeks turned sharply to Nathan. Explain. Nathan opened his mouth, and someone shouted down the hall. Security breach docking bay 7. The Dominion officers stiffened. Stay here, one ordered Theeks, before bolting toward the commotion. Theeks hissed, frustrated, and followed. Nathan exhaled slowly, forcing his hands not to shake. He waited until their footsteps vanished before sprinting the opposite direction. Krell was waiting at the junction near environmental controls, all four arms moving at once as he rerouted a power conduit. You're welcome, the Ardenian muttered without looking up. I moved them 30 minutes ago, where Nathan demanded. Maintenance, sub-level C near the old coolant bay. Off-grid but not for long, Dominion sweeping in waves. Then we move them again, Nathan said. Krell stopped, meeting his eyes. Parker, the inspection team isn't just here for refugees. They're scanning the station for data transmissions. Someone tipped them about stolen military research. Nathan's heart sank. They know. Maybe not who yet, Krell said, but if they connect it to you, Nathan nodded grimly. Then I'll give them something else to chase. Krell handed him a data chip. Encrypted route to the docks. Artemis Terran merchant ship still loading cargo. Captain owes me favors. They can take your passengers. My passengers, Nathan corrected quietly. I'm going with them. Krell's tentacles twitched. Then it's official. You're insane. Maybe, Nathan said, but I'm done being obedient. Krell grunted. You'll need a diversion. Something loud. The Ardenian grinned. Environmental sector's running diagnostics. I can trigger a false radiation alert. Won't kill anyone, but it'll make them panic. Do it, Nathan said. You've got 90 minutes. Parker. Krell's voice softened. Once you leave, there's no coming back. Nathan's expression was calm, but his eyes burned. Wasn't planning on it. He reached the coolant bay in record time. The air was damp cold, carrying the ghost of Freon. Lana was waiting, her eyes wide, breath trembling. Elu clung to her side, silent but alert. You're late, Lana whispered. I had company, Nathan replied. They searched Section 12. You're lucky Krell moved you. Krell, she asked. My friend, the one I told you about. He arranged a ship, the Artemis, human crew. They'll take you to Earth space. Lana's eyes filled with relief and something else. And you? I'm coming with you. She stared at him. Nathan, if you leave your post, you'll be branded a deserter. Then they'll have to catch me. Her lips parted, words dying before they formed. You'd give up everything. He took a step closer. Everything here stopped meaning anything the moment I opened that hatch. Lana's hand trembled. My people believe in destiny, that threads of light connect souls who are meant to find each other. I thought it was myth. Maybe it's not, he said softly. Maybe it's just humanity catching up. She pressed her forehead to his, that Terralian gesture that had become their secret language. Then our fates are tied. Elu tugged his sleeve gently. Are we really leaving, Mr. Nathan? He smiled down at her. Yeah, kiddo, time to win the best hiding game ever. They moved fast, service tunnels, narrow vents through dim corridors humming with alarms. Red lights strobed across the walls, and the intercom blared environmental containment breach in Sector 4, all personnel to emergency stations. Krell's diversion, right on schedule. Nathan guided them through the chaos, his ID card clearing checkpoints while others ran in confusion. The sound of boots and shouted orders echoed around them. Once they ducked into a side passage as a Dominion patrol thundered past. Lana gripped his arm, whispering, They're too close. Not for long. He hacked the next security door manually, sparks flying from the panel. His hands moved by instinct, years of training repurposed for rebellion. The door slid open just as a distant explosion shook the corridor. Go, he shouted, pushing them through. They reached docking bay 7, a cavernous chamber lined with cargo crates. And there it was, a small maintenance pod, its white hull streaked with grime, barely big enough for 3. Lana hesitated. This will get us to the Artemis, long enough to reach her docking lane. After that, the captain takes over. She looked up at him, and if we're caught, he smiled, weary and reckless. Then at least we'll die running. She didn't smile back. Instead, she stepped close, cupped his face in her hands, and kissed him. It wasn't soft. It wasn't tentative. It was desperate, burning a collision of gratitude, fear, and something larger than either of them. When they broke apart, both were breathless. For luck, she whispered again. He managed a shaky grin. We might need more than luck. Elu climbed into the pod first, fearless now, her small hands gripping the seat straps. Lana followed, eyes glistening. Nathan took one last look around the bay, the only home he'd known in months, and stepped inside. He sealed the hatch. The pod's engines hummed to life. The comm crackled. Unauthorized launch detected. Maintenance pod 12, stand down immediately. Nathan ignored it. Hold tight, he said. This might get rough. He hit the release. The clamps disengaged with a metallic thud, and the pod dropped away from the station. Through the viewport, Helios receded, a ring of light shrinking against the infinite black. Above it, the Dominion ship Relentless loomed, vast, unyielding, beautiful in its cruelty. Mr. Nathan, Elu whispered, voice trembling. Are we free now? Nathan looked at her, then at Lana, then at the stars stretching endlessly ahead. Not yet, he said, but we're getting there. Outside, the engines flared blue. Inside, 3 hearts beat as one. And in that fragile pod, caught between a dying station and a waiting war, humanity took its first step toward rebellion. The maintenance pod shook violently as it tore away from Helios Station. Warning lights flashed red across the console, and the hull rattled like a dying heartbeat. Nathan gripped the manual control's jaw set tight. Stabilizers are holding, he said through gritted teeth. Barely. Lana, strapped beside him, had one arm around Elu. The Artemis, do you see it? Not yet, he replied, scanning the radar. We're still in Helios's shadow. Outside, the void of space stretched infinitely black and cold. The station was shrinking behind them, a halo of white light around the massive Dominion cruiser, Relentless, whose hull gleamed like obsidian steel. Even from kilometers away, its engines radiated menace. Come on, Nathan muttered, adjusting thrusters. Then a flicker, a ping on the scanner. There, Lana pointed. The Artemis, a Terran merchant vessel, drifted near the edge of the sector, its signature flickering like a heartbeat. Civilian ship disguised for trade runs, but with engines that could burn like fury when needed. Nathan opened a channel. Artemis, this is Maintenance Pod 12 from Helios. Requesting emergency docking. Code Tango Echo 7903. Static filled the cabin for a moment. Then a voice crackled through deep human confidence. Pod 12, this is Captain McGee. Authentication confirmed. We see you. But listen close, Dominion's locking sensors on you right now. Copy that, Nathan said grimly. We're coming in hot. He angled the pod toward the Artemis, throttling the engines to maximum. The small craft shuddered under the strain, the control stick vibrating in his hands. The artificial gravity faltered, making the air feel thin and strange. They've noticed, Lana said softly. The pod's radar lit up with a new signal. Relentless was turning, aligning its massive cannons. Hold on, Nathan yelled. A searing beam of plasma sliced across the void, passing so close that it burned the pod's outer plating. The blast illuminated their faces in harsh white light. Elu screamed, clutching her mother. Nathan gritted his teeth, stabilizing the craft with both hands. They're firing warning shots, Lana said. No, Nathan corrected, eyes fixed forward. That was a miss. He opened the encrypted comm Krell had given him. Artemis, they're charging weapons. You've got Dominion attention. Then it's about to get loud, Captain McGee replied. Hold steady, we'll cover your approach. The Artemis's engines flared bright blue, breaking formation to intercept. For a merchant ship, it was surprisingly fast and heavily armed. Hidden turrets emerged along its hull, locking onto the Relentless with calculated fury. Lana, Nathan said, strap Elu down. It's about to get rough. Lana did, then looked up at him. You trust this captain? I don't have to, Nathan said. I just have to believe he hates the Dominion more than he loves his paycheck. He was right. The Artemis fired first. Bolts of pure energy ripped through space, smashing into the Dominion cruiser's shields. The explosions painted the void in electric blue, the shock waves scattering debris from the station's outer rings. The Dominion ship responded with a roar, plasma cannons flaring, hurling fire across the black. One blast struck the Artemis's hull, rocking it sideways, but it didn't fall. The merchant ship danced, weaving through fire like a wolf dodging a hunter's spear. Artemis, we're closing in, Nathan called out. Give us a vector. Bay 3 bottom access. We'll open in 60 seconds. Make it count. Nathan's eyes darted across the controls. 60 seconds was an eternity under Dominion fire. He pushed the throttle until the engine screamed. Elu's small voice trembled. Are we going to die? Nathan looked over his shoulder and smiled, not the calm of certainty, but of defiance. Not today, kiddo. Lana reached for his hand, her fingers finding his. Their skin pulsed with the faint, bioluminescent glow of her people's bond, her heartbeat syncing with his through that shared rhythm. It wasn't words, it was trust. Another blast shook them, this one close enough to send alarms blaring. The Artemis swooped into view, its docking bay doors opening, the mouth of salvation. Come on, Nathan whispered, guiding the pod toward it. The Dominion cruiser was closing fast energy weapons building to full charge. Almost there, he said. Faster, Lana cried. The docking port loomed ahead, a small square of light in the darkness. Nathan aligned the pod perfectly, engines screaming in protest hall, vibrating like it was about to tear apart. The Relentless fired. A plasma bolt tore through space, hitting just behind them. The shock wave hurled the pod forward like a pebble in a storm. Nathan slammed the manual stabilizer, fighting the spin. The bay opening rushed toward them. Brace. The pod smashed into the docking bay with a teeth-rattling crash, metal screeching, sparks flying. Then silence. They were inside. Nathan slumped forward, chest heaving, as the Artemis docking clamps sealed the pod. Emergency lights flickered overhead. Lana exhaled shakily. Elu burst into tears, not from fear, but release. Nathan unlatched his harness and turned. We made it. Lana's smile was faint but radiant. You did. He shook his head. We did. The hatch opened, and they were met by chaos. Crew members rushed through the docking bay, shouting orders, sealing hatches, carrying weapons that were far too military for a simple freighter. A man with a rugged face and a gray beard strode forward, Captain McGee himself. You Parker, he barked. Nathan nodded. Yes, sir. These are the refugees. Then you just brought the hornet's nest on my doorstep, McGee said. But there was no anger in his voice, only grim admiration. Follow me. Dominion's not letting us go without a fight. The Artemis lurched violently as another blast hit its shields. Shields at 38%, someone shouted. We can't take much more. Then we hit back harder, McGee yelled. Tactical target their power core. Let's give them something to remember. Lana stepped forward, pulling a small crystalline drive from beneath her tunic. Captain, my husband's research is on this. It includes Dominion shield frequencies and weak points. I can help you. McGee blinked. You're Syria. Nathan nodded. She's the reason we're here. McGee grinned sharply. Then get her to weapons control. Now. They sprinted down the corridor. Nathan could hear the ship's hull groaning under pressure, every explosion like a heartbeat outside the walls. Crew members ran past with scorched uniforms and determined eyes. In the control room, the chaos was electric, holographic displays, flickering crew shouting coordinates. Lana moved to a console, her fingers flying across the keys with inhuman grace. I can destabilize their shield modulation, she said, but I'll need to sync your targeting system. Do it, McGee said. You've got 30 seconds. Lana closed her eyes, the faint bioluminescent glow spreading from her temples to her fingertips as she interfaced with the system. The ship's AI flickered. Unrecognized biosignal detected. Nathan stepped in front of her. Override security lock. Authorization Parker Theta 7. Override confirmed. Lana's voice was calm amid the chaos. Target coordinate grid 19 Delta. That's their primary shield capacitor. Target locked, called the tactical officer. Fire, McGee ordered. The Artemis unleashed a single concentrated barrage, one that slipped through the Dominion shields like a knife through silk. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the Relentless erupted in light. Energy cascaded along its hull, each blast triggering another, until the massive cruiser became a storm of exploding metal. Its engines flickered, sputtered, and died. The monster went silent, drifting in the dark. The control room erupted in cheers. McGee slammed a hand on the console. That's for every colony they burn. Nathan exhaled, laughing shakily. Lana, you just crippled a Dominion warship. She turned to him, breathless eyes wide. No, she whispered. We did. He pulled her close, the chaos fading around them for just a second, and kissed her. It was nothing like the stolen kiss in the shadows of Helios. This one was bright, fierce, alive. The sound of the crew cheering melted into the hum of victory. For the first time since he'd left Earth, Nathan felt the universe tilt towards something good. Hours later, as the Artemis limped away from the battle site, the Relentless still drifted broken, but not destroyed. Earth Command's long-range ships would find it soon. News of the victory of a single human vessel defeating a Dominion cruiser would ignite everything. Nathan stood with Lana and Alou on the observation deck. Through the viewport, stars glimmered like 1,000 possibilities. "You did it," Lana said softly. He shook his head. "We did it. You, me, Krell, McGee, hell, even the rats." Alou giggled, leaning against the glass. "Does this mean we're hero?" Nathan smiled. "Not yet. Heroes don't stop until home is safe." Lana looked up at him. "Then where is home?" "Nathan Parker." He didn't hesitate. "Wherever you two are." And outside, the void burned not with destruction, but with light. The first spark of a rebellion that would someday span the stars. A month later, the warship Artemis, once a humble merchant freighter, floated in orbit above Earth Station Alpha, gleaming in the gold light of the sun. Below them, the planet turned like a jewel ocean's shimmering blue continents painted in living green. To Lana, it looked like a dream she was afraid to wake from. To Nathan, it looked like forgiveness. They stood together on the observation deck, watching the homeworld spin slowly beneath them. It was peaceful now, but both knew that peace was a fragile illusion, a breath between storms. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Nathan murmured. Lana smiled faintly, her green skin glowing softly under the ambient light. "Almost as beautiful as you described. Though I didn't believe oceans could be that blue." He chuckled. "Yeah, they have that effect on you. Looks calm from up here. Down there, they can swallow mountains." She turned to him, her silver hair reflecting the light of Earthrise. "Your world is untamed, dangerous, and yet you love it." "That's the human condition," Nathan said with a grin. "We love what can destroy us." Lana's gaze softened. "Then perhaps we are more alike than I thought." In the months since their escape, everything had changed. The destruction of the Dominion cruiser Relentless had rippled through the galaxy like a thunderclap. For the first time, humanity had struck a wound in a seemingly invincible empire. Earth Command debriefed them for days, every word, every image, every byte of Lana's stolen data, dissected by scientists and strategists. The information proved beyond valuable. It revealed not just weak points in Dominion shields, but structural flaws in their core systems, exploitable cracks in a tyranny that had ruled the Orion Arm for centuries. And through it all, Nathan stood beside Lana, refusing to leave her or Alou's side, even when questioned by generals or politicians. When the council finally spoke, they did so not as bureaucrats, but as people changed by hope. For her courage and her late husband's sacrifice, Lana of Taralis was granted full Earth citizenship, along with permanent refugee status for her daughter. For his defiance and valor, Nathan Parker was not court-martialed, but commended. The council called him the first bridge between worlds. He had laughed at that, but part of him knew it was true. Now standing on the deck of Earth Station Alpha, the weight of it all pressed down on him in the gentlest way. Lana came up beside him, resting a hand on his arm. "Your people offered me a position," she said softly. "They wish for me to continue my husband's research to adapt our technology for your defense fleet." "You said yes?" he asked. "Of course," she replied. "The Dominion took my home once. I won't let them take yours." He smiled, pride flickering in his chest. "Then I guess you're one of us now." She tilted her head, amused. "One of you or one of ours?" He laughed quietly. "Fair point." Her voice turned thoughtful. "My people used to say that the stars chose those who dared to love across borders, that such love could reshape destiny itself." "Sounds like something Krell would toast to," Nathan said, grinning. Her expression softened. "He was brave. Without him, we wouldn't be here." Nathan nodded. "Yeah, he sent one last message before we left Helios, said he'd cover our tracks. He's probably in trouble for it by now." "Then we'll find a way to repay him," she said. "You're talking like a soldier," Nathan teased. She smiled. "I learned from the best." A chime echoed across the deck. Alou bounded in her small feet, barely making a sound on the metallic floor. She held a hollow tablet in her hands, her silver hair tied in a loose braid. "Nathan, Miss Harper showed me Earth animals," she said excitedly. She tapped the tablet and holograms of elephants and whales filled the air. "They're huge. Can we see them when we go down?" Nathan chuckled. "Only if you promise not to bring one back to the ship." Alou giggled. Okay, but I want to see them all. Lana shook her head with mock severity. One at a time, little one. Elu looked between them curiously. Are we going to our forever home now? Nathan exchanged a glance with Lana. Yeah, he said softly. Our forever home. The words felt heavier than they should, but in a good way. A promise sealed by everything they'd survived. Later that evening, after Elu had fallen asleep in their quarters, Nathan and Lana stood by the viewport again, the Earth's light washing over them. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with unspoken things. You know, Nathan said when I first joined Helios, I thought I'd just count down the days till I got home. I never expected this. Neither did I, Lana admitted. I spent so long running that I forgot what it felt like to stop. He turned to her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. You can stop now. You're safe. Her eyes glimmered with something deep gratitude, love, maybe a trace of sorrow. Safety isn't what I want anymore, she whispered. I want purpose, and I found it. With Earth, he asked. With you. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was electric. He leaned in, and when their lips met, it wasn't desperation this time, it was peace. The faint glow of her bioluminescence pulsed through his skin, their connection deepening like a quiet flame. When they finally pulled away, Lana rested her forehead against his. My people would call this bonfire two souls burning brighter together than they ever could apart. He smiled softly. Then let's burn for a long, long time. Days later, the official ceremony was held in the Grand Assembly Hall of Earth Station Alpha. Diplomats, admirals, scientists all gathered under the flag of Earth and the new emblem, two intertwined circles, one human, one Terrellian. Nathan stood beside Lana and Elu as Admiral Higgins addressed the crowd. Today, the Admiral said, his voice echoing through the hall, we mark the birth of a new alliance not forged by treaties, but by courage. Humanity and Terralis stand together, against tyranny, against fear, for the freedom of all sentient life. The applause was thunderous. Lana turned to Nathan, eyes shining. Your people have a gift for ceremony. He smiled. We like to make a big deal out of hope. She laughed softly. Then let's give them more of it. As the crowd roared, Elu squeezed Nathan's hand. Does this mean we're a family now? Nathan crouched to her level, smiling. We already were, Elu. The galaxy just needed to catch up. That night, the three of them stood again by the massive viewport, watching as shuttles left the station, some bound for Mars colonies, others for deep space research. Humanity was expanding again, but this time not alone. The stars outside seemed closer now. Their light warmer somehow. The war with the Dominion wasn't over, but it had changed. For the first time, the galaxy believed that the impossible could happen, that humans and aliens could stand as one. Lana reached for his hand. Do you ever think about what's next? He looked down at her, smiling faintly. Always. What do you see? He turned back to the stars. A fight worth fighting, a home worth keeping, a love worth dying for. Her expression softened and she whispered, then maybe humanity's greatest weapon isn't technology. What is it then? She leaned closer. It's heart. Nathan chuckled. Yeah, we've got plenty of that. They stood in silence for a long while, the planet turning below the stars, watching above. Then a quiet beeping came from the console, an incoming transmission. Nathan frowned. That's not local traffic. Lana tilted her head. What is it? He opened the feed and froze. A pattern of static and tone, faint but unmistakable. A code. Dominion frequency. Lana's face turned pale green. They found us. Nathan's eyes hardened. Then they'll find Earth ready. He reached over and disabled the alarm. Outside, the stars glimmered with silent promise, not of peace but of purpose. The era of isolation was over. Humanity had stepped into the galactic stage not as conquerors but as defenders of the flame. And somewhere deep in the vastness, the Dominion would soon learn what every world eventually did, that when humans care, when they love, when they fight together, they are unstoppable. Epilogue. The light that followed. As the sun rose over Earth's curve, a small girl's laughter echoed through the corridors of Earth Station Alpha. Elu ran ahead of her parents, pointing excitedly at the viewport. Look, the oceans look like the sky. Nathan and Lana followed, hands intertwined. Their reflections glowed faintly against the glass, human and alien side by side, bound not by species but by choice. Lana looked up at him, smiling softly. Do you think your people will ever stop calling this the beginning? He shook his head. No, because beginnings are what we do best. Outside, the stars waited not as threats, but as invitations. And for the first time in recorded history, humanity didn't look up in fear. They looked up together.